Okay, I feel like I say this every time now, but it has been a while since I've recorded one of these journeying through classic Doctor Who episodes. But alas, I have made it through the Reign of Terror, and this was a long one to get through. I think I started this story like months ago, and I watched like the first few episodes of it, and then I was just so I don't know. I I was getting sick of these like we've had a slew of episodes in a row like the Aztecs and the Sensorites, Marco Polo, like stories like that where it was like this slew of like it like every single one would start interesting and then descend into the exact same formula. And I was, there was like standouts like the Keys of Marinus and like the Daleks and stuff that were like actually very like I loved those stories and I thought they were great Doctor Who stories. But like yeah, we've got these slew of these like samey like stories where they get to a place and there is a political scheme going on and they sort of like you know find themselves in the middle of it. And it's the exact same formula every time, and I'm like, you know, I'm getting sick of it. But this story and the first few episodes of this seemed to be going that route, and I was just like, oh my god, this is. There was like this loop in the middle of this that sort of like spirals into the last few parts of this, where it's characters getting in prison, then getting released or let out or sneaking out, then getting in prison again, and then getting released and like it happens multiple times to multiple characters, like, and I'm just like, oh my god, it. I wonder if there was and this this could be historical knowledge. Like, please, I feel like every story is 2 or 3 parts too long for its own good. They're all so like long for some reason, like unnecessarily long. Like when you add it up, it's like longer than any two-parter in the modern show has is like, and these are stories that like do not need to be this long. There's like how many like parts does this have to have, like 6 parts or something. But I will say like the second half of this story really picks up, and I actually really did end up really enjoying it. I think it probably is the best of this formula where Doctor and Co. show up in this place and there is just straight political machinations going on. They get caught in the middle of like a conspiracy that's going on. This was the best of that formula, I would say, so far. I actually found myself very invested in the narrative, like the what was going on, and I think it was because the Reign of Terror is actually a historical era slash situation that I didn't know anything about. I actually never heard of it, and watching the first few parts, I found myself a bit confused. I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on historically here, because I know about the French Revolution, but like only the basics. I'm no expert by any means, and I really didn't understand the context of the Terror. So I looked it up, and like I got a bit of understanding, but like the later parts actually do a good job of like giving good commentary on what this era meant, and also did like a good like I feel like it was like the first one of these thing like speeches that we've got. Like there might have been more that I'm just like forgetting, but I feel like it was like the first one of those like strong speeches of like not like like these decisions that these people make will happen no matter what we do. Like we are not here to say like do not make your decision, essentially. And I feel like that happens a lot throughout Doctor Who, and like especially in historical, and then even like future episodes it happens sometimes too. But this was like the first iterance, like really powerful iterance of that I noticed in the show. But yeah, like as it progressed like towards the end of these like the last few parts of this, like I was actually very like invested in what like the political narrative and what was going on, and I actually like found myself like genuinely like fascinated by it. So this was a very good subversion of what I thought it was going to be in terms of like very samey. It was very samey, don't get me wrong, as the past stories have been, but like it seems like what I'm understanding is that this is kind of there's definitely exceptions, like for example the Keys of Marinus, which I loved, but like it seems like this is what the understanding of the show was, especially in the historical stories, like the past stories. was this type of narrative. Like it seemed like at this point, it seems like this is the what like the show runners and writers understand the show to be. And it's subverting, like doing like different things with that is the sort of like design of the show right now. And I think that's going to change, like I mean, especially when like this specific TARDIS team departs. I think the dynamic's going to change quite a lot, and like especially when the Doctor changes into Patrick Troughton at some point. But I really do love going into this blind. Like, I'm not looking up anything when anything happens, and I'm not gonna look up, like, obviously I'll see on like the next episode of like who's the face in the thumbnail is, but like things like that. But I'm not looking up like what stories are the last of a Doctor's story or last of a companion story. I'm not looking up like when regenerations happen, like when characters die or anything like that, or leave the TARDIS, anything like that. I'm keeping it purely blind, as if I was watching it live, like without the internet. Like back in there was no internet, there was no like this is like it was all live. You didn't know it was gonna happen unless you like later, if it gets to like 80s 90s, taped it. I think another reason why there might be so many parts that I'm just like thinking about now to each of these stories is that if you miss a story, like a piece, like a part in one of these stories, there's no recourse. There might have been some reruns, I don't know, but like I don't think reruns were a regular thing back then, were they? I could be totally off with that, but you know, like there was no recourse. You just had to pick up the next one and figure out what happened, or have someone that tell you what happened. So I feel like there's so many parts, so you could still get the full like wider grasp of a story while missing a part or two. But I couldn't imagine sitting here and being like, oh my god, we're on week 6 of the Aztecs. You know what I mean? I feel like you just dropped the show. But I guess also it was a time where there was a lot more limited options for entertainment. So you just like, you were more invested. There was not such an attention economy. And I really do love like this kind of time capsule that the show is giving me into a different era of like storytelling and entertainment and media. And so I'm really like appreciating the journey in that sense. But overall, I really do appreciate this story for just, what it did, like in terms of genuinely educating me on a historical period that I didn't know about. And like Doctor Who started off as an educational show with some sci-fi stories like throughout, like a sci-fi like twist on an education, and it shifted into what it is today for sure, and like evolved over time. But like the origins of it really are effective. Where I did learn, and I did learn, and it did encourage me to look up more about this period. So yeah, I do appreciate the story in that sense, and I think, like I said, it was the most solid of this particular formula. I think this is I haven't been looking at the seasons. I don't really I haven't been looking at Classic Who in a seasonal way, especially since this does like the next time is the next episode. So I don't know if this was even like this was an artificial season break that was created later, like retrospect or not. Or if during the time there was like an actual seasonal break or not. It didn't seem like it. But I think this is the official end of season 1 of the show, and like the break into season 2, which is interesting because it's not like that's why I think it was more of an artificial break later down the line. Maybe because like there's no actual season ending. There's no like finality to it in any way. So it just seems like the end of another story. Yeah. It is really cool seeing the parallel, because right now, like as I'm recording this and probably releasing this, this second season of the 15th Doctor Ncuti Gatwa's era is going, and it's the same base premise, where it's a reluctant companion that is, they can't them home, and the Doctor is trying their hardest to get them home, and it's and so they're being like reluctantly onto these adventures, but growing to like get accustomed to them and love them, and it's kind of fun. Going through these classic stories where the show began, and it's that same problem where it's like we can't get them home, so we're like stumbling upon these random spots in time and space. So yeah, I think those are my overall thoughts on the story. Like honestly, it started off very, very slow and stale to me, but it grew to be something like I genuinely appreciated. Yeah, so I'm excited to see more. This kind of reinvigorated my interest in that. So thanks for watching. watching, listening, whatever you want to call it. Bye bye.